The biggest mogul of all, the one and only P. Diddy.
All of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
But he's a monster, some say.
What was it like meeting Diddy for the first time?
Meeting him for the first time, it was the dream come true. I just remember him walking in and asking everybody, hey, what kind of girls do y'all want? And I think somebody said they wanted Puerto Rican girls.
A man who never loses, because losing is never an option. He doesn't just want success, he wants to own it. And when he doesn't, that's when the doors close. Full of contradictions, a genius, a villain, a legend. Sean Diddy Combs. It was the late 70s in New York. The city's heartbeat was fast, and the streets were even faster. Everything feels a little grainy, a little out of focus, as if the world wasn't quite ready for the force that was about to take over. This is where Sean Combs begins, in the heart of the Bronx, in the hustle. Diddy wasn't born into luxury or privilege, he was born into struggle. A young kid, eyes wide open, learning the game on the streets. His family, not rich by any stretch, but rich in ambition. His mother was a powerhouse who showed him what it meant to survive. His father was absent, leaving him to figure it out on his own. He always had that hunger. It was like he didn't know what it meant not to win.
Oh my God, what have I started? Earlier today, I put it out there to you, the viewers, you the people that make me. A lot of people dream about, getting into this industry and being somebody. Everybody just needs a chance. Somebody gave me a chance. That's what my whole thing is about. It's about empowerment.
From day one, he was out here hustling. Whether it was selling candy or flipping whatever he could, he was always thinking bigger, always thinking next level.
Everybody come on, get up out your seats, wave your hands side to side. Put the peace sign in there.
But here's the thing, Diddy didn't just want to be another hustler. No, he wanted to be the best. His eyes were always on the moguls. He'd look up to the legends, Russell Simmons and Quincy Jones. And he'd tell anyone who'd listen, I'm gonna be like them, I'm gonna own it all. He didn't just admire success, he studied it. He watched how Russell Simmons built Def Jam, how Quincy Jones moved in the world of music, and how they held real power. And he knew, even at a young age, that the only way out was to dominate, to not just play the game, but own the game. It wasn't enough to work hard, he needed to be untouchable, unstoppable. Fast forward to the early 90s, Diddy's hustle has led him to Uptown Records. It's here where the world gets its first real taste of the Diddy we all know today. But back then, he was just a kid with big dreams and even bigger ambitions. The thing is, this is where Diddy's true nature starts to show. It was no longer about working hard and playing nice. It was about being ruthless, making the game bow down to him. Andre Harrell, the head of Uptown, saw the hunger in him. He gave Diddy a shot, but Diddy wasn't just playing by the rules. He was rewriting them.
We would all be in the studio and they would be chanting different things over the music alone. This whole thing is spiritual. The spirit realm very much controls what it sounds like, what it looks like, what happens.
People who were there in the studio during those days remember. He was a genius, but he was also cutthroat. One former colleague shares, visibly unsettled by the memory. He didn't hesitate. If someone got in his way, they were gone, just like that. It was about making sure everyone knew you were the one calling the shots. And so, the first seeds of a future mogul were planted. But what people didn't see back then was that for every move Diddy made, something darker was brewing underneath. He was learning to control, to manipulate, to make the world bow down, not just to his hustle, but to his will. At this point, Diddy is on the rise, unstoppable and driven. But is it all just ambition, or is there something else behind that hunger? Something more dangerous? What happens when a man refuses to lose?
I got my MTV out. Savage! I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get! Whatever I want, I have to get!
The fire that burned in Diddy's heart wasn't going out anytime soon. In fact, when he was fired from Uptown Records, most people thought that it was the end of his story. But Diddy saw it as just another obstacle, another chance to prove everyone wrong. It was the birth of Bad Boy Records, and with it, a new era was born. Diddy had a vision. He wanted to own the industry. He didn't just want stars, he wanted legends. And he knew that to make it to the top, he'd had to play by his own rules. He signed the notorious B.I.G., and the world would never be the same again.
I'm trying to give a chance to somebody that's out there to be my personal assistant, to help me to be the best, and hopefully I can help them to one day be the best. That's what it's about, us helping each other. But things are getting a little crazy. It's already over 10,000 people have inquired about the job. So to keep things a little focused.
He knew exactly what he was doing, even if it didn't look like it on the surface. It was all about control. Control of the money, control of the power, control of the narrative. Diddy's empire grew, but so did the shadows. Behind the glitz of red carpets and platinum albums, there were stories that would make your skin crawl. Artists like Biggie were signing away their futures, allegedly manipulated by promises of fame and fortune, but left with little in return. Those contracts, they weren't what they seemed. A former employee recalls a hint of guilt in their voice. He made people believe they were on top of the world, but he controlled everything. Every move, every dollar. Artists didn't know they were walking into a trap until it was too late.
It has been a long journey to get here. She did not want to hide. Why should she hide her head in shame? She has not done anything wrong.
On the surface, Diddy was the life of the party, always smiling, always dancing, always throwing the biggest events. He was the man you wanted to be around. The bad boy persona was fun, flashy, and forever associated with the best of hip-hop culture. But behind those parties, behind the fame, was a man who was always calculating, always thinking 3 steps ahead, playing a game no one else could ever see. As Bad Boy grew, so did the tension in the hip-hop world. The infamous East Coast versus West Coast feud was in full swing, and Diddy's rise to power couldn't escape the bloodshed. Rare interviews from the time reveal a side of Diddy that few knew. He was entangled in the conflict, not just as an artist, but as a strategist, working behind the scenes to protect his brand and his life. The paranoia? It was real. He had bodyguards everywhere. People didn't know who was on whose side anymore. He made sure no one got too close. He was watching, always watching. The whispers about Diddy's role in the feud are still a mystery to this day. Some say he played both sides, while others believe he was more involved than anyone cared to admit. There were a lot of things happening behind closed doors, a former associate says, shaking their head. But that's the thing with Diddy, he never left evidence. He'd make moves, and no one would ever know he was involved until it was too late. But how far would he go to hold on to it? What happens when power, paranoia, and ambition collide in the world of hip-hop?
Well, I have kept this secret for like 14 years. I mean, the first time I experienced it was 2010, and I was in the hotel room.
A fall from grace, walk of shame, that's what happens. There's the Diddy everyone knows, the flashy mogul who throws the biggest parties and is always surrounded by a crew of celebrities and influencers. But then, there's another Diddy behind closed doors, the man that his closest associates feared, admired, and ultimately suffered under. A sudden arrest in September 2024 took the world by storm. Was he always like this? Who even is Diddy anymore? Once a close friend looks like a complete stranger now. People who worked directly with Diddy have come forward in whispers, sharing stories that are as dark as they are disturbing. People who once called him a friend now speak of the control he had over them, the manipulation, the intimidation. But the whispers go deeper. Allegations of violence, both physical and mental, started circulating among the people who knew him best. Artists who worked with him, like the notorious B.I.G. and others, lived under an oppressive atmosphere, an environment where every move was scrutinized, and every mistake had consequences. You had to be perfect, recalls a former bodyguard. He didn't want loyalty, he wanted obedience.
Listen, this is what happened. I say, yo, Big, somebody gonna try to come us tonight.
What caused you to flip on him?
Well, you would say flip on him, but I would say let people know what's happening and the truth behind him.
Diddy's control extended beyond the studio and the office. Stories of lavish parties, but with a darker edge, painted a picture of a man who lived in excess, a man who never took no for an answer. He surrounded himself with people who were loyal, but only if they followed his rules. Betrayal in Diddy's world was punishable by more than just a dismissal. It didn't take long before the allegations against Diddy started to pile up. Whispers turned into public accusations, the lawsuits came flooding in, and women, former associates, and even employees began speaking out.
Well, I've never been in this house, but the picture, yes. That's what took place, yes.
You're aware of surreptitious cameras that were recording in private places like bathrooms.
I didn't see the cameras. You could tell how the person was angled. I knew that it was a camera there because I was there. You know, I was there. I don't know if the person was too tall, he was holding it or whatever.
There were stories of abuse, manipulation, and even assault. The chilling detail of these accounts painted a side of Diddy that was far from the charming mogul the world has come to love. Former employees and colleagues talk about the hush money, the NDAs that were forced onto anyone who dared speak out about what really went on behind the scenes. A culture of silence was born. If you signed with Diddy, you signed away your freedom to talk about anything that happened under his watch. If you ever broke that silence, you paid the price.
He stated that he would make me an offer to end the case and what happened to me because of other things that he stated he has going on in his life that require his money right now, and he wants to sell everything off. And he made me a financial offer of $2.3 million to allow what happened to me to go away. And he stated that he's going to be selling his property. And under the 2005 California Civil Code 2881-2885, the creation of liens, which allows out-of-state justices and orders to cause a stop of any title transfer, property transfers.
It's always been about control, says one former artist. If he didn't want something out in public, it stayed locked away. And if you tried to speak out, well, there were consequences. The stories kept coming, each one more disturbing than the last. Tony Busby, a renowned attorney representing more than 120 victims, spoke out, vowing to hold Diddy accountable for his actions. But as the floodgates opened, many questioned the true nature of the allegations. Was Diddy really a mastermind behind all of this? Or was he a victim of his unchecked ambition? Some say he was playing a dangerous game of power and manipulation, while others wonder if his rise to the top created a monster he couldn't control. The world watched as Diddy's empire seemed to begin unraveling, a monster made by its own obsession. The making of the bad boy.